Hi, Assel. How are you today? Good to see you again for our next episode. So, the topic today is about data privacy and how you can ensure data privacy for outreach success. So, being an email guy, you'd be very familiar with this. What have you learned about GDPR and data privacy?
So we are GDPR compliant at Cedar, and having the compliance doesn't mean that you can still do the outreach anyway as you want. So there are certain factors that you need to count in. For example, the people that you are reaching out to, make sure you are getting their data from publicly available platforms. For example, again at Cedar, I'm only quoting about Cedar because that's what we do, and from my experience, you can learn. So it's not like I'm trying to sell Cedar, but I'm just telling with my experience what we do at Cedar in order to get a way around it. We take data from publicly available platforms like LinkedIn, Crunchbase. Most of the businesses, they have their information listed on their website. If you go to their About Us page, you will see who the right decision makers are, what was their contact email. You can get the data from there. And if you are taking data from there, nobody is going to question you why you are reaching out to me. Or if somebody gets back to you and ask you for this information, at least you'll have a track of providing that information. So that is that. And second thing, apart from taking the public data, again, at Cedar, what we make sure is that we are reaching out to the key decision makers of a company, and we are sending them relevant business outreach message, so that even if we are reaching out to them out of the blue, they are getting the value and they are seeing the purpose of it, basically. So it's not entirely useless, and they don't get mad at us. Like they would see the relevancy of the outreach. So if you do that, I think again it's gonna minimize the effect of people requesting their information or getting mad at you. And the third thing, which I would say is definitely going to help you, is make sure that you are giving them the right to opt out from the cold outreach. So you are just make sure whenever you are doing the cold outreach, you are giving them the option of not subscribing. Just put in the link of not subscribing, unsubscribe basically. So if somebody doesn't want to receive emails from you, they can have an option to opt out. And if anybody opt outs from your email, make sure you respect their decision and you don't keep them in your mailing list and keep on sending them the email.
It's a good summary. Thank you for that. And I think in brief, GDPR helps people protect their privacy. That means that their information can't be sold and they can't be subscribed to mailing lists. However, there's a clause within GDPR that allows for outreach with legitimate intent, which is what you were talking about, where if you can find someone's data in a publicly available way, you're allowed to message them about something relevant to their business, as long as you also respect if they don't want to hear from you and they want to say, stop messaging me or unsubscribe me. I mean, it's a funny statement, unsubscribe me, because they're not subscribed to anything. They're actually just receiving cold messages. But it just means they don't want to hear more from you, in which case you can opt them out. And also always allowing people to ask, where did you get my data? And then telling them directly. This makes us GDPR compliant, right? And it's also worth noting that there's different laws in different regions. So GDPR is actually a European law, but in the US, has its own law. I think even in California, there's a different law, and in Canada, there's a different law. So different geographies have their own privacy laws, but mostly cold outreach is still permitted, and as long as you are compliant. All right, so let's talk about LinkedIn a little bit. What have you learned using LinkedIn as well as email for data privacy and protecting our clients?
LinkedIn is slightly different to email because it doesn't fall under the category of GDPR law. With LinkedIn, supposed to be your first degree connection to have the conversation, which basically means that you have already accepted my connection request. So there is some kind of consent. That being said, it doesn't mean I can add as many people as I want and I can just start sending them random messages, or just blasting them with the sales pitch again and again. So LinkedIn has a very strict algorithm when it comes to outreach. They don't encourage outreach in the first place, but they allow you to do the prospecting. So they have a certain algorithm. For example, you cannot send more than 200 connection requests per week, no matter if you have a premium LinkedIn or not. So there's a restriction of 200 per week quota that needs to be there. Secondly, whenever somebody accepts your connection request, make sure again the data relevancy is there. You are reaching out to the right people that can have any relevancy to what you are offering. One of the key factors for LinkedIn outreach is that you cannot use any automation at all. If you're using any automation tool, LinkedIn is going to restrict your profile right away. No matter what kind of tool you're using, per my experience, LinkedIn eventually is gonna get you, because they don't track your IP or cookies or anything what a lot of automation tool advertise. They generally track your behavior on LinkedIn. So how frequent you are messaging to the people, how frequent you are sending the connection requests, and how you are interacting with the other profile. They are tracking that. So if you're using any automation, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a robotic behavior, and LinkedIn is going to crack it, and they are going to restrict your profile. So the best way is be aware of LinkedIn restrictions, and have a very humanly way design outreach campaign. And the third thing I would say again would be, make sure you are reaching out to the right key decision makers with the relevant messages, so that people don't bash you. Because if you are just reaching out to even if you have the right data set and you are just sending them the sales messages again and again, they are going to get annoyed, and they are going to report you, and they are going to remove you from their connection, from their network. And if a lot of people are going to report you on LinkedIn, again, LinkedIn will have a restriction on you, and it can have a very negative impact on your profile.
It's really good to mention the kind of LinkedIn etiquette. And something we've found is having your profile not automated and behaving in a normal way as like a normal profile is the best. So viewing profiles, liking content, sharing content, and making sure if you are adding 200 people per week, that's like 800 a month, and that quickly adds up. You want to be able to monitor the connection rate and make sure that you don't have too many pending requests and things like that. Yeah, just being quite careful and mindful. So I think the last thing we could talk about is more about protecting data internally. So if you're sharing your LinkedIn profile with somebody else, like an assistant who's now adding people and messaging on your behalf because you don't want to use automation, how do you protect your data from giving it over to somebody else, or even to like an agency like Sader? And how do you ensure, data privacy in that regard?
Okay, so at Sader again, our most of teammates, they are based in Pakistan and Philippines. So we generally come across this problem where we have different geographical locations. For example, I'm trying to access your profiles, and you are in Paris nowadays, so you're based out of Paris. And if I'm handing out your profile to my teammate based out of Philippines, and if both of you are logging into your profile at the same time with different geographical location, it is going to trigger LinkedIn. So what we do is we make sure we are using the right IPs, the proxies basically, to make sure both of you are interacting from Paris, not the from different locations. That we do. And secondly, a lot of people ask us at time of onboarding, like how you are going to make the data secure and all. So in general, we encourage people to use LastPass and Bitwarden to whenever they're sharing their credentials of their LinkedIn profile, because that way even we won't have access to their credentials, let alone the teammates. Secondly, if they are sharing their credentials with us, we have a very different server. We have a very different server to keep the passwords of the clients, and nobody has access to it apart from myself. So that's another way to keep it secure. And the third thing is, with both clients and our teammates, we generally have a signed NDA of not selling the data, of not sharing the results outside, or it's mostly with the teammates that they cannot sell the data or share the results, and etc. With the NDA, it kind of gives you a legitimacy that your data is secured, and will keep it secure.
It's a really good point about the NDA. Like, it's not watertight. People can still do the wrong thing, but it's a good warning that this is actually a legal requirement, that people don't break the law, and they can there's some kind of legal consequence of not respecting the data privacy there. Okay, I think that's a pretty good overview. Thank you for helping us think about data privacy for email, LinkedIn, and internal processes. So see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Jen.